hopefully we can just pick up where we were with Germany. So to summarize about Germany, we were just summarizing about Germany that yes, there was punishment economically and also by having forces come in. The Soviet Union actually took over in the eastern side. After the Cold War, it was awful for Eastern Europe because when the Soviet Union fell, it became very tough financially, and things that were owned by the state after the Soviets withdrew, now they had to figure out how to privatize everything. So this is pretty difficult. So following World War II, it was a tough time for Europe in general. So now we're comparing Germany and we're comparing France. And as we said, France is an older state. The French have a very distinct culture. They're not fond of McDonaldization. So what is McDonaldization?
Franchising?
Yes, it would be bringing in chain type industries like McDonald's or Wendy's, and big box stores like Walmart and other chain stores. And then that would mean, the main thing is, it can remove the local businesses. It can make it hard for local businesses. And so the French really like to keep things French, and it is such a fabulous culture. Again, dating back to Roman times. Paris was established during Roman times. So right on the Seine River, a very beautiful place to visit. And it's our best example of a primate city. Now, as we said before, a primate city, Paris, it's a world-class, top world-class city along the lines of London and Tokyo. Beautiful. And why is it a primate city? Here's Paris. Because if you looked at a road map of Paris, you can look at the road map of Paris, and you can see that the roads radiate, and everything joins up to Paris. So Paris is a central city. It's the biggest city, and by far dominates the other cities that are in France. And so if you have a primate city, it's a big, giant city. It doesn't have to be right in the middle, but it's often located centrally. So Paris has a great, long history. It has a wonderful culture. The French in general like to preserve their culture and work hard to do that. So if you visit France, it'll get you a long, long way if you learn just a little bit of French, even enough to say, I'm so sorry I don't speak French. Because that will indicate to them that you care enough at least to learn that much, to be able to communicate, to open some kind of communication. So I plan to visit France, and maybe I'll take a little book with me. I did have a couple of years of French in high school, so I'll have to dig back very deeply for some French words. Okay, so I would love to go more deeply into each country that we briefly visit, but we'll just bring a few things out that will help us remember, and I will encourage you to look up more on each of these things. And if you see a place that's piqued your interest, go online and do a little research on it. If it's a place you want to visit, I encourage you to look up more on it. If you're interested in history, the history, the World War II history is really fascinating. It's tragic too, but it's also a big story of hope and rebuilding. And really, just to conclude with this World War II part of it, this is really what unified Europe, was that it was fractured. And then it had to unify after World War II, and it did so in a spectacular way, not seen anywhere else in the world. So it's really a story of hope, too, in joining together. Okay, let's just move to Benelux, Belgium, Netherlands, Luxembourg. So here is Belgium, here is Netherlands, and here is Luxembourg. Okay, again, these three are the key states that initiated the European Union. They're extremely important in the functioning and the central location for EU activities. Belgium has an interesting history. It's located right on the coast here. And Netherlands next door has actually increased its coastline. And the book tells you how they did that. Did you read about that? It would be as if we can visualize it in Guam here. Let's just say we go to Tuman and we put up some walls, some dams, and then we suck all the water out of it. Then we could create new land.
Is it reclaiming the Southern Sea or something?
Yes. So it's a reclaiming of land from the sea, actually. So taking out the seawater and creating more space to build. Because there's very low areas off this coastline. Luxembourg is known for having, there's so many banks there, and a lot of it's EU financial activity. So it said there's a bank on every corner. And in all of these states, you'll see the EU flag flown in many, many, many places. What about Belgium? Belgium has kind of a cultural split. There's Flemish-speaking people, French-speaking people, and so it has an interesting culture mix. So these are just the main things for Belgium, Netherlands, Luxembourg, and again, Luxembourg is it's almost a microstate, a little bit bigger than what we would call a microstate, but it's the smallest of those three. Okay, good.